Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Glowing in Tech podcast,
where we explore career development from Black women in tech.
Hi, I'm Amber.
And I'm Jessie.
And this is
Glowing in Tech.
Sponsored by Makers. We are so excited to have Renee Hunt to join us today on the podcast. She is the CTO of Compare the Market and does a lot of other things too. So Renee, can you tell us a bit more about you?
Hello, everybody. It's so wonderful to be here, and I'm very honored because I understand this is your first one back since Christmas.
Yes.
So what do you want to know?
So can you tell us a little bit about what being a CTO is like?
Oh my goodness. I'm still figuring that out. I call myself the accidental CTO. This is an important life lesson. So I had a picture in my head based on the really cool CTOs I'd worked for that I thought were like amazing. And I have really good self-esteem. Like this is not a problem for me, but I was pretty sure I was not a CTO. Which is fine, right? Like there's loads of other great things you can do. And so I actively avoided being a CTO. People would call me for, headhunters. You want to be a CTO? I'm like, I'm not the person, but I know people you could talk to. And when I took my job at Compare the Market, I was working for somebody I'd worked for before who I really quite liked and thought, yeah, this would be a good place to finish out my career. And less than 90 days later, I found out that actually the intention was they were checking me out to see if I could be the CTO.
Ooh.
So I was very surprised, very surprised. And then I had to think about it, and I didn't have a lot of time to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So being a CTO was not what I thought it was going to be in my head. It's every day is a school day. Because there's part of the job that I could do with my non-dominant hand with one eye closed, and there's another part of the job where I feel like a swan. Yeah, I know what that is. Google. What the hell is that? But I have a really great team, and I don't pretend to them what I do and don't know. And it's helped me to be humble, which I'm not particularly good at. But I'm learning humility every day. So basically, depending on the type of organization you're in, being a CTO spans the totality of technology.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned a long time ago, like hardware, not for me, right? So networks, not so bad, but but I've really gravitated my career towards software engineering and bit of cloud, bit of database, but primarily software engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have all of it. So I have to care about our cloud relationships. I have to care about our SaaS software that we purchase from various companies. I have to care about our workplace technology. I have to care about our ERP systems. I have to care about all of it, all of the InfoSec like that. If you enjoy sleeping peacefully, don't be a CTO. Because InfoSec alone would keep you up at night going, ransomware, right? Honestly. So it's all of it, which is great because it's way more stimulating than doing something you could do with your non-dominant hand with one eye closed.
Mm-hmm. 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 So we would like to get an industry insight in 5 from Renee, where she's going to try to introduce the industry she works in 5 minutes or less.
I can't say my name in 5 minutes. I'm working on that. So I work in the FinTech industry, which is super cool. So it is the combination of finance and financial services where it hits technology. And we use technology to make different types of financial vehicles available to normal people. What I love about working in FinTech is that our company especially is FinTech for good. So we take products that people buy, like insurance or other products where you can buy them annually, like broadband or energy, if that market ever comes back, and allow you to see all of the various products available to you, what the terms and conditions are, what's covered, what's not covered, and most importantly, we make the providers compete by giving you a best price. And the way it used to work, it was very, very narrow. Sometimes you'd have to go to one broker. The broker only had the relationships they had. We try and have as many relationships as possible so customers get a much better price. And what I love about my job in financial services, it's very difficult to find a market where there isn't some sort of like somebody loses. We can't make money unless we can save you money. There's no reason for you to do business with us unless we save you money. So it's a win for our customers, it's a win for our shareholders, it's a win for us as a brand.
That's really cool.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, that's really nice. So in terms of the kind of FinTech for good, how do you feel that impacts the kind of people that you look for? Like as a CTO, you're a large part of what you do is kind of building teams, right?
Absolutely. So as a FinTech, technology is the business. So we are more than 50% of the population of our business are technology people. So I need people who are exceptionally good at code or the area of technology that they work in, but they can't. I call, and sometimes in tech, we get so far away from the business that we're working in that we need other people to explain to us what it is we're writing code for. And that's not the tech I grew up in. So we need to bring our, like, that knowledge and that appreciation for what the business does, how we make money, how we best serve customers into the technology people. So, cheers to my BAs. They're really important. And I need my developers to know that too, to know the functional area of the business. So I look for rounded people, right? Like 10x developers. Okay, maybe I want 10 of them, just 10 of them, because, you get more than them in a bag, they just fight. So yeah, you need some people who are just Jones on very, very deep back-end issues. But for the most part, I want really rounded people with life experiences, people who might have actually even used one of the products, who care and have empathy for what it is that our customers need and what our business needs to run well. Because that's where you're going to get the creative ideas. But if all I'm doing is explaining, like playing telephone with you with requirements, you know how that ends up, right? So that's what I look for.
That's really cool.
That's really cool. I just wanted to know about the fact that people kept pushing you towards CTO roles.
I don't think people push me towards CTO roles. I think if you work in business long enough, and especially as a woman and a woman of color, lots of companies are trying to address lots of different things. And I'm not throwing shade on any of that. There was a time being a woman of color would prevent you from getting jobs, right? That you were very qualified for. So I think agent like headhunters and they're looking at CVs and going, right, it says IT, click, call her up, And so I would get these calls saying, because I was a director, I'd been a director in media for a long time. And so they'd go, oh, you've done a lot of jobs. Maybe you want to be a CTO. And I think a lot of people are chasing titles without thinking really hard about what makes them tick and what they want to do. And for me, I figured out a while back that I'm not that interested in what people call me. I'm very interested in what I'm going to get paid. And I'm very interested in doing work I enjoy. And I don't need to chase a title to something I'm not going to enjoy to equal what I want to be paid. And the sooner we can understand that it is far better to do what you do amazingly and negotiate better pay than it is to do a job you're not going to enjoy just to be paid, right? Like, you can get paid. Getting paid is not hard. Let me be very clear. It's not hard. So I did nothing about being a CTO from what I had seen growing up appealed to me. Like, I don't like politics. I'm not big on a lot of the sort of administrivia of business. I didn't think I would want to sit around an exec table. I've had some questionable examples of execs that I've seen from sitting on the sidelines that said, that's not really how I want to spend my time. And I think arriving at CTM, I saw something different. I saw a group of people who were really aligned, who liked and respected each other, who got that we were a technology business, and wanted to understand what we did. I was like, oh, that's cool. So I think a lot of the conditions were right at CTM to allow me to kind of think differently about the problem. But I'm not going to kid you, I was freaking out. I was like, No, I had to talk to like 2 mentors, a really good friend. I had to be talked into it. And even though I said yes, I don't think I actually accepted I was going to actually do it for about a month.
Yeah.
And a month.
And
And then it was like,
because how do you prepare for that? Like,
well, I couldn't, right? It
Yeah.
was like one
Next
day
day.
I think I'm going to go in to talk about my new org structure. And they go, yeah, that's lovely. Let me tell you something else. And I was just gobsmacked. I just didn't expect. I'd been there 90 days.
Oh.
I did not expect that to be the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What was the role that you accepted?
Director of product engineering. So leading all of the development teams that built the customer facing products.
So what do you think? So what kind of skills do you think they were looking for in terms of like wanting to see you progress into being a CTO?
So I have my own theory, but I won't say it because this is recorded.
Oh my God.
I just feel set up. I'm like, nobody makes that decision in 90 days, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've been told it absolutely wasn't how it happened. Sure. I think that my fellow exec are really like they're broad thinking people. I think if they looked for the traditional person for CTO, it wouldn't have been me. Like I don't think my CV matches what like a typical CTO would be. But if you think about if I think about I had a taxi driver as a brother, right? And he's driving me to Oxford, and I'm working for Oxford University. And he said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm working at the business school, doing some mentoring for some of their students." And he goes, "Why? What do you do?" So I told him. And he said, "Wow." He said, "Are you an engineer?" And I said, "Well, strangely enough, no, I never studied engineering, but I've been working in engineering for the last 30 years, so I guess I'm an engineer now." And he said, "Why do you think you're good at what you're doing?" That's deep. It's a taxi driver, not the usual chat. And I said, "I think that I have the engineering skills. I've been a programmer. I understand how it works. But I think at the more senior levels, being shit hot at engineering matters less.
Yeah.
And being a good communicator, helping people to ask questions in a safe environment, managing risk, raising people, helping people to be better leaders matters more."
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I don't think you could do that as a complete novice. Like you couldn't come out of finance, for example, and run a technology organization knowing nothing. That would be dangerous. We used to do that though. And look at what we're cleaning up now. That would be dangerous. But I think having rounded skills makes me stand out in ways that other 10x engineers don't. And no disregard. One of my favorite CTOs in the world is a 10x engineer. He's amazing, but I bring something different to the table. So
no, that's really good to hear, because I think it can be tricky to imagine how you best position yourself to move into leadership, especially when you're early on in your career. So I think hearing that it's not necessarily by being the best programmer and the best person at engineering in order to,
But I would say the danger, this used to annoy me about women in tech. And part of the reason I think we struggle with certain levels of pipeline is that I would watch it happen time and again. You'd get a woman who was, decent, okay as a developer. And while she's learning, like we all should have the grace, be given the grace to learn and be a bit shit while we're learning. They would say, "Oh, wait, but you can communicate. You're really good at PowerPoint. You're really good at talking to people. Why don't we make you the Scrum Master? Or why don't we make you some job that takes you away?" And no disrespect, like a good Scrum Master is worth their weight in gold. But something that takes you out of really, really building your foundation too early. And then you get a little longer along and they go, "Yeah, but she's not technical, is she?"
yeah,
Which is just garbage. The number of times I've had people challenge my ability to do the job who don't know me, because if they knew me, they'd know better.
Oh,
Seriously,
that's the energy.
Like I remember one of my favorite like principal engineers. The guy was solid. And I said, hey, I've been called by this headhunter. And he said, yeah, okay. And he goes, you gonna? I said, well, it's interesting. I'm gonna see where they're going. And so they were calling me for a CTO role, which normally I would say no to, but this was a really interesting up and coming company. I'm like, let's see where we go. So they called me, right? I didn't call them. They called me. They knew what my CV did. They knew all of it. And in my final interview with the founder, right, he said to me 3 times, I'm really struggling to understand how you do all this if you're not an engineer. And I was like, dude? And he goes, no, it's me. And I'm like, yeah, I'm 100% sure it's you.
Yeah.
And I said, don't you think 30 years of working in software and writing software and leading teams that write software and QAing software and like having to explain to people why things don't work or why we have to buy something else, didn't you think like it's not luck?
Yeah.
Like it's not luck. So and I did, that was all I needed to know. I'm like, I don't thank you, I don't want to work for y'all. And he was like, no, it's me. I'm like, yeah, but you've built a company of people like you. And I'm going to spend all day explaining to everybody how I managed to get up this morning and brush my teeth by myself, even though I'm not an engineer. And that just, I think, it overcomplicates what it is what we're doing, right? Like there are certain jobs, I want to have somebody who's got that full background, the theory, the practical, to come and be responsible for parts of what we're doing. Absolutely. But if I had a team of people who only did that, I think we would miss bigger things, much bigger things. I'm sure they had loads of engineers on those hand dryers that don't work when you put brown hands under it. I wonder how they missed that, right? I would love to see the testing.
Something that we talk about a lot is the difference in working culture between the US and the UK, and the difference in engineering culture specifically, and the kind of pay differences. I'm really interested to hear, because you've come from the US and you now work
I've been gone for 25 years though, so I don't feel like I'd be that credible. Because I don't know what it's like in the US at all now, like nothing other than what I've heard. I know that they get paid a lot more. And I remember the shock of coming here. And I came here and I'd just been promoted and had a nice fat raise. And I thought, when I'm moving to DC and moving here, and they were from DC, and they said, are you going to rent an apartment? I said, yeah, I think so. And they said, okay. So if you, just to give you an idea, so one of my mentors had moved like 6 months before me, and he was telling me about it. He said, okay, do you own your house? I said, yeah. He goes, okay, think about your house. Think about the size of your house. I'm like, yeah. He goes, think about the distance it is from the city. And I said, okay, yeah, okay. And he goes, now take your mortgage and put a pound sign in front of it. Now, for those of us watching in 2023, I know $1 is almost the same, and that is shameful. But then it was like $1.60 to the pound, right? So he said, put a pound sign in front of it. And I went, oh. And then he said the killer, now make it a week. And I went, no way. He went, way. He goes, if you want that much space, that close to London, make it a week and it's about right. And I went, no way. Oof. So everything was way more expensive here, like way more expensive, except the theater. That was cheap. Everything was way more expensive. And I'm like, I said, well, so they must make a lot more money. And he went, no. I was like, yeah, so money is definitely different in the US. I think, and this sounds like cliche, but I can say this, the expectation of how long and how much work you put in a normal day is way more in America than it is anywhere in Europe, to include the UK. So the work-life balance doesn't really happen in the way it does here. I don't know where they are on mental health, but there's certain phrases that people used to say when I moved to the UK that I just didn't understand. Like they're signed out for stress. I was like, that doesn't happen in America, or at least didn't in America. I left. Like, signed out for stress, you just get fired.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you what? So, and I have to take that seriously. And I still struggle with the idea that, like, I think we just use stress as a big bucket term, and there's the stress that allows you to stay like in your flow state, which it's pushing you, it's allowing you to grow, it challenges you. Maybe it doesn't always feel great, but it allows you to sort of get to that next level. It's like if you worked out and you don't work it out to stress, you're not building that muscle. Right. So there's a level of stress that is healthy and fine. And then there's a level of yucky, horrible stress that pushes you into like anxiety. I get that. I think in America, nobody cares about your anxiety.
Yeah.
It's like you're not meant to work here, then go work somewhere else. It is a bit more cutthroat.
Yeah,
over
that's
there.
really cutthroat.
But again, I'm talking 25 years ago. Maybe they're evolved.
For our American viewers, please let us know.
Please let us know. Go, girl, what are you talking about? You ain't been here in forever. But I don't feel credible. I'm going to say that one more time because I feel like I did most of my professional growing up and learning on this side of the pond because I've been here since I was in my early 30s. So, yeah.
I actually have a question about leadership.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I really want to know. So a lot of leadership books that I've been reading has been predominantly written by men, and I always want to know what like kind of female leadership looks like.
Oh my gosh. One, don't discount the leadership books written by men. A lot of is the same. And I've read many, many leadership books written by men that I love. One of my favorite books was not only written by a white male, but he was also in the military. And yet I find so many lessons from that book that I use everywhere I go because why invent something new? And it's very, it's not command and control at all, which is what I love about it. So what does female leadership look like? I think the stereotype is terrible, to be honest, about female leadership. And I think we have the opportunity to kind of rewrite a narrative about it, especially in technology. So I don't know. You'd have to ask the people who work for me. And I've heard multiple things. Teams that I've put together myself, I have a lot of trust in, I've worked with before, describe me as being, really like high levels of autonomy. I hire the best people I can find. I don't get in their business. I feel like all leadership's function is twofold. Fold one is to raise the people that they have the luxury of leading, like to raise new leaders. And then function two is to be operating in the future. Because if I'm operating in the same time horizon that you're operating in, then I'm going to be micromanaging or saying I'm sorry from a higher place. Like there's nothing I can do to fix or to avoid something going wrong in real time. Can't do it, right? So if I'm doing my job properly, I'm operating in the future because I'm describing a strategy or a vision or a set of objectives to help people to say, in 3 years, in 2 years, in 5 years, we need to do this. That's me being in the future. And then I need to be working backwards from there to unblock obstacles. So how does that show up for me today? Today, I'm thinking about the organization we're going to need after we do this. We're doing a big bit of work at the moment around our architecture, and it's going to change a lot about how we work. So I'm thinking about what type of people do we need? What type of relationships are we going to need? Do we need to have a different office? What type of training do I need to give to my people? And start getting that in place now for something that won't happen for 18 months, right? Because I can't be in the business of now to 18 months because I'll just piss off the people whose job it is to do that. Why are you doing it like that? It's helpful. Everybody loves that.
Make sure you stay tuned for next week's episode, where we'll be talking to Renee again about the challenges she faced in her career, as well as hearing about her controversial take on something within the tech industry. Available on all major podcast platforms.